In the heart of the ancient world, a storm is gathering. A conflict, centuries in the making, now threatens to engulf not just a region, but the entire globe. This is the story of a perilous triangle: Iran, Israel, and America. A story of ancient rivalries, modern ambitions, and a future hanging precariously in the balance. For decades, the Middle East has been a chessboard for global powers, a landscape scarred by war and defined by a fragile peace. But today, the pieces are moving faster than ever. At the center of this maelstrom lies the Islamic Republic of Iran. Since the 1979 revolution, Iran has pursued a path of defiance, seeking to establish itself as the dominant power in the region. Its revolutionary ideology, its support for proxy groups across the Middle East, and its controversial nuclear program have set it on a collision course with its neighbors and the West. From the mountains of Lebanon to the deserts of Yemen, Iran's influence extends through a network of allies and militias. Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and various factions in Iraq and Syria form what is often called the axis of resistance for Iran. These groups are a strategic depth, a way to project power and deter its adversaries. For its rivals, they are instruments of instability, fueling conflicts that have displaced millions and redrawn the map of the region. Facing this rising power is Israel, a nation forged in conflict, forever vigilant. For Israel, and Iran armed with nuclear weapons is not a strategic challenge. It is an existential threat. This fear has driven Israeli policy for decades, leading to covert operations, cyber attacks, and a relentless diplomatic campaign to isolate Tehran. The shadow war between these two nations is fought not on open battlefields, but in the digital realm, in secret intelligence operations, and through targeted strikes that rarely make headlines, but steadily raise the stakes. Every explosion at a sensitive Iranian facility, every assassinated scientist, is a move in this deadly game, pushing both sides closer to the brink of open war. And then there is the United States, the global superpower, deeply entangled in the region's fate. For America, the Middle East has long been a source of vital energy resources and a critical arena for asserting its global leadership. Its unshakable bond with Israel and its long-standing animosity with Iran place it at the very heart of the conflict. American foreign policy has swung like a pendulum. The 2015 nuclear deal, known as the JCPO, was a landmark attempt at diplomacy, offering Iran sanctions relief in exchange for curbs on its nuclear program. It was hailed by some as a triumph of negotiation, a step back from the brink. But the deal was fiercely opposed by Israel and many within the US in 2018. The United States unilaterally withdrew from the agreement, reimposing crippling sanctions under a maximum pressure campaign. The goal was to force Iran back to the negotiating table for a better deal. Instead, it pushed Tehran to accelerate its nuclear enrichment, bringing it closer than ever to the ability to build a bomb. The pendulum of diplomacy had swung back towards confrontation, and the world held its breath. This isn't just a regional squabble. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway through which a fifth of the world's oil supply passes, is a critical choke point. Any disruption here whether through military action or political posturing, sends shockwaves through the global economy. Oil prices spike, markets tremble, and the cost of living rises for people thousands of miles away. The conflict in the Middle East is a conflict that everyone, everywhere, has a stake in. Now, a new and devastating chapter has been written. The attacks on Israel and the subsequent war in Gaza have acted as a massive accelerant. The violence has not only caused immense human suffering, but has also activated Iran's network of proxies like never before. Hezbollah launches rockets from Lebanon. The Houthis attack international shipping in the Red Sea, and militias target U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria. Each attack is a calculated risk, a test of resolve. It's a multi-front war, orchestrated and supplied by Tehran, designed to bleed its adversaries and demonstrate its regional dominance. The Houthi attacks in the Red Sea are a prime example of this new globalized battlefield. By disrupting one of the world's most important shipping lanes, a relatively small group has managed to impact global supply chains, forcing shipping companies to take longer, more expensive routes around Africa. It's a powerful demonstration of how asymmetric warfare can have an outsized effect on the world economy. In response, the US and its allies have launched airstrikes, turning the waters off the coast of Yemen into another active front in this widening conflict. For America, the dilemma is acute. Does it escalate, risking a direct war with Iran that could be catastrophic? Or does it show restraint, risking the perception of weakness and emboldening its adversaries? Every decision made in the White House Situation Room has immediate and far-reaching consequences, not just for American soldiers, but for global stability. The tightrope of deterrence is becoming thinner every day. Meanwhile, other global powers are watching closely, and they are not idle spectators. China, with its insatiable appetite for Middle Eastern oil, has stepped in as a peacemaker, brokering a historic détente between rivals Iran and Saudi Arabia. This move signals a shift in the global order, a challenge to decades of American dominance in the region. Beijing's strategy is one of economic partnership and non-interference, an attractive alternative for nations wary of Western pressure. Russia, bogged down in its war in Ukraine, sees the Middle East chaos as a strategic advantage. It deepens its military cooperation with Iran, gaining access to drones and other weaponry while providing Tehran with advanced military technology. A distracted America is a weaker opponent on the global stage, and for Moscow, any crisis that diverts U.S. attention and resources is a welcome one. The world is fracturing into new alliances, with the battle lines of a new Cold War being drawn not in Europe, but in the sands of the Middle East. So, what is the endgame? We are at a precipice. One path leads to a full-scale regional war, devastating missile exchanges, and a global economic collapse. It would draw in global powers, pitting the US, Israel, and their allies against Iran, Russia, China, and their network of proxies. The human cost would be unimaginable. Another path, though narrow and fraught with danger, is the path of de-escalation and diplomacy. It would require immense political will, a stepping back from maximalist demands, and a recognition that no side can achieve a total victory. It would mean addressing the core grievances: the Palestinian quest for statehood, Iran's security concerns, and Israel's need for recognition and safety. It would require rebuilding trust where none exists. The future is unwritten. The actions taken today by leaders in Tehran, Tel Aviv, and Washington will determine which path we follow. Will they choose the drumbeat of war or the difficult, uncertain work of peace? The world watches not as a spectator, but as a participant whose fate is inextricably linked to the outcome. The crisis in the Middle East is no longer a distant headline. It is a global reckoning, and its consequences will define the 21st century for all of us. The final outcome remains unknown, but one thing is certain. The world, as we know it, is about to change. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of the critical issues shaping our world. Stay informed and stay safe.